History of mathematics technology. The earliest known uniform systems of weights and measures seem to all have been created at some time in the 4th and 3rd millennia BC among the ancient peoples of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Indus Valley, and perhaps also Elam in Iran as well. Many different systems have been found to be in existence. However, most were based on the parts of the body and the natural surroundings as measuring instruments. Early Babylonian and Egyptian records and the Bible indicate the length was first measured with the forearm, hand, or finger. For example, a cubit is the distance from your middle finger to your elbow. A yard is the distance from the middle of your chest to your middle finger when arms are held as shown. The abacus is often wrongly attributed to China. In fact, the oldest surviving abacus was used in 300 BC by the Babylonians. It is used to aid in the addition and subtraction of numbers. A skilled operator can perform addition and subtraction as fast as a person operating a calculator. Egyptians are probably the first to formally divide their day into parts something like our hours. Obelisks, slender, tapering, four-sided monuments, were built as early as 3500 BC. Their moving shadows formed a kind of sundial, enabling people to partition the day into morning and afternoon. Obelisks also showed the year's longest and shortest days, when the shadow at noon was the shortest or longest of the year. Later, additional markers around the base of the monument would indicate further subdivisions of time. In the quest for the better year-round accuracy, sundials evolved from flat, horizontal, or vertical plates to more elaborate forms. One form is pictured. By 30 BC, 13 different sundial styles were in use in Greece, Asia Minor, and Italy. Water clocks were among the earliest timekeepers that didn't depend on the observation of celestial bodies. One of the oldest was found in the tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh buried around 1500 BC, later named Klepsydros, water thieves, by the Greeks, who began using them about 325 BC. These were stone vessels with sloping sides that allowed water to drip at a nearly constant rate from a small hole near the bottom. Many different models were devised, including a metal bowl with a hole in the bottom. When placed in a container of water, the bowl would fill and sink in a certain time. These were still in use in North America in the 20th century. These were primarily used to determine the hours of night. This instrument can tell the time, find latitude and longitude, measure the angles of the stars, predict solstice and equinoxes, and measure the precision of the equinoxes. This instrument can also find the ecliptical pole, as well as the north and south poles. It can make maps and charts, design pyramids and hinges, and when it is used in combination with these observatory sites, can record and predict the cycles of nature. What is this ancient icon that all humanity sees daily and does not recognize? It is the cross. The Crichton Pictures was discovered hidden by the house of Amen in the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Gaza. This amazing cross is capable of measuring angles to an accuracy of 3 arc minutes. It is believed to be much older than the pyramids and actually predate them by thousands of years. It has also been found that this knowledge was rediscovered and kept secret by the Knight Templars and other secret societies throughout the Middle Ages. In 1617, an eccentric, some say mad, Scotsman named John Napier invented logarithms, which are technology that allows multiplication to be formed via addition. The magic ingredient is the logarithm of each operand, which was originally obtained from a printed table. But Napier also invented an alternative to tables, where the logarithm values were carved on ivory sticks, which are now called Napier's bones. Napier's invention led directly to the slide rule, first built in England in 1632 and still was in use in the 1960s by NASA engineers of the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs, which landed men on the moon. motor-driven calculating machine to actually be built was probably the calculating clock, so named by its inventor, the German professor William Scheichert, in 1623. This device got little publicity because Scheichert died soon afterward in the bubonic plague. The first mechanical calculator was produced by Blaise Pascal in 1642. Others tried to improve on it, but not until the 19th century was any real progress made. In 1801, a Frenchman named Jacquard invented a punch card system for controlling the threads of his weaving looms. This same punch card system was later used for calculating purposes. The calculating machines of Charles Stanhope, the British statesman and versatile scientist, he devoted a considerable amount of his time and money to the developing of 3 calculating devices of an original design. The machines were manufactured by the skillful mechanic James Bullock, the first machine in 1775, his second machine in 1777. In 1822, Charles Babbage was working on a steam-driven calculating machine called a difference engine. In 1871, at the age of 22, George Bernard Grant of Massachusetts published on a new difference engine, American Journal of Science and Arts. In this article, he described his invention of a calculating machine based on the method of differences. Between 1872 and 1898, Grant patented and manufactured desktop calculating machines. In 1885, the first workable adding and listing machine is built and patented by William Seward Burroughs. In 1886, the American Arithmometer Company is formed. In 1886, the sales of the first adding and listing machine of the American Arithmometer Company began at a price of $475. Then came the Hollerith in 1890, who added the use of the read-write technology to punch cards to win the Census Bureau Award for his Hollerith desk invention, which was used to calculate the 1890 census. Hollerith's technique was successful, and the 1890 census was completed in only 3 years at a savings of $5 million. Hollerith went on to build the company, the Tabulating Machine Company, which, after a few buyouts, eventually became the International Business Machines, known today as IBM. Incidentally, the Hollerith census machine was the first machine to ever be featured on a magazine cover. Before the invention of microchips and vacuum tubes, there were mechanical calculators. These calculators were on every desk from the early 1900s to the 60s. At the end of 1961, the Bell Punch Company put the Anita Mark 7 on the market in continental Europe and the Anita Mark 8 in the rest of the world as the world's first electronic desktop calculators. These were the only commercial electronic desktop calculators for more than 2 years. In 1966, the first handheld calculator was produced. The handheld pocket calculator was invented at Texas Instruments Incorporated in 1966 by a development team which included Jerry Merriman, James Van Tassel, and Jack St. Clair Kirby. In 1974, a basic patent for miniature electronic calculators was issued to Texas Instruments Incorporated. The patent is for personal-size, battery-operated calculators which have their main electronic circuitry in a single integrated semiconductor circuit array, such as the popular one-chip calculators. It's humorous to remember that in between the stretch machine, which would be called the mainframe today, and the Apple I desktop computer, there was an entire industry segment referred to as mini computers, such as the PDP-12 computer of 1969. Home computers were finally made possible. In 1976, Apple produced the Apple I, which sold for $600. Casio was the first in the world to produce a graphing calculator. In 1985, Casio produced the first ever scientific graphing calculator, the Casio FX7000G, which not only allowed you to produce graphs, but was also programmable, much like a handheld computer. The computers of today are slick and small compared to the earlier ones. We now have portable laptop and slicker small notebook computers.